Great to see all of your faces. Woo! It's a little daunting to share the same stage as Tony Bennett once occupied. So artificial intelligence, and we just heard it in the last presentation, called the new electricity and the driver of the fourth industrial revolution. And it's poised to make a tremendous economic impact, as well as get embedded into our daily lives ubiquitously and invisibly. The really exciting thing about AI, though, is how it can be used towards solving some of the world's greatest challenges, whether it's around precision medicine, improving the healthcare system, addressing things like climate change. I'm really, really lucky because in my day job, I get to see that reality every single day, the positive potential for this technology. And so I want to share this 3 young women's stories who are making this positive future for AI possible. The first is Stephanie. Stephanie grew up as the daughter of farm workers in Salinas, California. She went through our artificial intelligence summer camp program that I run at AI for All, and she really discovered her joy and her love of AI. She went on to research water quality issues using machine learning back in her hometown. Meet Amy. Amy also learned about her passion for AI and went on to continue her research applying AI to improving surgeon technique. Her paper won Best Paper Award at NIPS, one of the largest AI conferences, while she was still in high school. Meet Becca. Becca was always passionate about social justice, and she discovered how she can connect artificial intelligence and social justice to make the world a better place. She was placed at an internship at MIT Media Lab this last summer, researching AI in the criminal justice system. These 3 young women are just an example of what is possible for AI, that it's applied to solving problems in our communities, and then it's built by those representing our diverse society. Unfortunately, there are many barriers preventing people like Amy, Becca, and Stephanie from getting into AI in the first place. So the reality is that in the status quo, there's a massive diversity crisis in AI. There's also existing societal biases that are creeping into AI and machine learning systems. As AI gets embedded into more decisions, as we outsource our decision-making for who gets a job, who gets access to a loan, who gets access to financial services, this could actually exacerbate existing equity issues in the economy that we're actually trying to solve. So why would we mirror that in AI technology? So just to put some numbers to it, only 12% of AI and machine learning researchers are women around the world, and only 7% of computing bachelor's degrees are awarded to women of color. There are many examples of bias in AI systems that you read about, and it's luckily getting studied more and more, but I wanted to share just one, which is the Gender Shade Study. How many of you have read it? Oh, not too many. Okay, gendershades.org. Timnit Gebru and Joy Boyliami studied facial recognition systems, the top widely used. And they found that if you look at overall accuracy, how well can it recognize someone's face, it's pretty good, upwards of 90%. But when you test it based on race and gender and you break it down, the story changes, and it's a lot less accurate for people of color, especially women of color. This is hugely problematic, as well as other bias issues, as again, AI creeps into the ways that we're making life-changing decisions that'll affect people's lives. And I'm afraid we're going to see more and more examples of bias creeping in. Also, if we have homogeneous teams that are building AI technologies, we're less likely to identify these issues and understand the importance of addressing them early on. So what do we do about this? It sounds pretty dire, and it could be, but luckily there are a lot of tangible steps we can take to address it. The first is, of course, testing, monitoring, and auditing AI systems before and after they're released to understand what the impact is and whether there's bias. And I think later today you're going to hear about some debiasing tools and systems that companies are developing. We also need to adopt and create fairness and ethics standards for how we build and use AI technology. There are many companies that are actually doing this internally, and there's also interdisciplinary groups coming together, which is great, to try to build and adopt these technologies, including the Partnership on AI, which many of you may have heard of, or the IEEE AI and Ethics Initiative. There's also the need for transparency and explainability in these systems, that we know how they're making decisions and that we're able to identify what the accountability measures are for harm that these systems potentially cause. All of these steps are really, really critical and important, and we have to do all of them. But I believe that the most important thing that we can do is prioritize diversity and inclusion at these early stages of AI technology. And that's why we started my organization, AI for All. We're working to increase diversity and inclusion in this space. We run education and mentorship programs to help underrepresented talent get into AI, as well as spread the word and build AI literacy so that those who will be impacted by it will even know what's going on and be able to understand how it affects them. What we've found is that building diversity and inclusion into AI doesn't just mitigate some of these unintended consequences that we're all here to talk about, but it also maximizes the potential for positive uses of the technology. It will lead to more innovation. It will lead to a more diverse set of problems and challenges being addressed. And of course, it's a good business sense because it will lead to more profitable and effective teams and companies. So just to put some numbers to that, a recent Intel study showed that in the US, if we increase diversity in the tech sector alone, it'll add $500 billion in new value to the economy every year. Another study shows by Raj Chetty, Stanford economist Raj Chetty, showed that if we include women, minorities, and low-income people in the innovation economy, we could quadruple the rate of innovation in America. This is a huge economic opportunity, as well as a need for equity in the space. So, how do we tangibly do this? There's 3 core areas that we have to address with diversity and inclusion in AI. The first is early exposure and making sure that everyone has access to getting these skills, developing these skills, and even knowing the opportunities in AI and also other emerging technologies. The second is around hiring. We need to make sure that we're not overlooking untapped sources of talent. And we need to make sure there's not bias and discrimination directly in hiring practices. There is amazing, diverse AI talent out there. If people say they can't find it, I don't buy it. Here are some direct sources you can hire from if you're building AI teams: Women in Machine Learning, Black in AI, Latinx in AI, Fast.ai, and of course, AI for All, which is the company that I run. We have up-and-coming talent. The talent is out there. We need to be clear-eyed about how we're hiring. The last thing, and most importantly, is retention. Nothing matters on the other 2 buckets if we're not increasing inclusion in our companies and in our teams to support the long-term success of diverse companies and teams. This goes for not only inclusive cultures, but also accountability and tracking outcomes and making sure we're tracking things like retention and building that all throughout the whole company, not just in the hiring practices, but also in leadership and how we're thinking about it holistically. So this is solvable. And for something like artificial intelligence, which is still in its early days, we can take action now and actually change it. I really believe that. So AI technology, the unintended consequences are not destiny. We have the power to shape and drive this tool in the direction that we want it to go. And it's really critical that to do that, we have to prioritize diversity and inclusion at these early stages. We don't want to miss out on the amazing talent and genius of people like Amy, Stephanie, and Becca. So I hope that you will join with me so that we can ensure AI lives up to its full potential for our society and for them. Thank you so much.